Pandemic Panic: How Canadian Government Responses to COVID-19 Changed Civil Liberties Forever. Written by Joanna Baron and Christine Van Geyn.
The main theme of the book is that while government needs the flexibility to respond to fast-moving events, there's a tendency of government to, once they have a little bit of extra power, hold on to it and maybe go too far with it.
This is the most extraordinary impact on civil liberties, certainly in our generation, possibly in the last century, and that overall we saw a failure of the judicial system, a failure of governments to act in a way that respected and took rights seriously.
That governments and courts made mistakes in the outcomes on pandemic-related litigation, but that we as citizens have the power to push back against our government and hold our politicians accountable.
We want to have these rights if we want to consider ourselves as a constitutional democracy that values free expression, the ability to worship, the ability to gather, the ability to travel, to see family members. Then these rights have to have teeth, and we have to understand them and understand what the different tests are for overriding them in order for them to be meaningfully a part of our lives.
The thing that really stands out is that if you forget all of the mistakes that were made during the pandemic, the government and the people are bound to repeat those mistakes whenever the next crisis happens.
Look, this whole experience, this whole 2+2-3 year experience was really a stress test of those rights and freedoms, which we see as having enduring value for how we want to live together as a society. Not to be dramatic, but people have died to protect these liberties. And so if we look at the pandemic as a stress test, because of course, rights aren't usually tested to their mettle when it's 20 degrees and sunny and everybody's happy. No, they get tested under stressful emergency circumstances. And I want readers to ask, did our system prove itself up for this stress test?
This was a dark time in our history, but things are not hopeless. We do have the ability as citizens to hold our governments to account. The book has some examples of that actually happening. And we want people to come away feeling like they have the power to make good, positive change in our country.
Pandemic Panic: How Canadian Government Responses to COVID-19 Changed Civil Liberties Forever. Written by Joanna Baron and Christine Van Geyn. Published by Optimum Publishing International.
I want to thank my co-author, Joanna Baron. I want to thank our publisher, Dean Baxendale of Optimum, our editor, Maura Brown, our research assistants, David Joe and Mark O'Brien. And of course, I want to thank my family, my parents who hosted me in their home, not just during the pandemic, but as I helped work on this book, and my husband, Evan Cohen, and my children who are the inspiration for trying to build a better world.
I'd like to thank my co-author, Christine Van Geyn, my friends and family, my parents, my nieces and nephews, the Canadian Constitution Foundation staff, and its board of directors, particularly its board chairman, Andy Crooks, who have been tremendously supportive of Christine and I through this process.